Hey, and good morning to you. I'm Sarah, and this is Brown Family Goods. I'm back in the kitchen today, and I have got to deal with a bunch of carrots today. So, today is going to be a pressure canning day in the kitchen. If you saw my recent video where I got my first Azure Standard order, you will know that I ordered a lot of fruit and vegetables. So, today is the day that I'm dealing with the carrots that I received from Azure Standard. I've received 20 pounds of organic carrots from Azure Standard. And what I did when I first got those carrots, the day after actually, you'll see they're in bags here. What I did was I went ahead, I had some recipes in mind, and I went ahead and measured out the amount in weight that I needed for those recipes. So this bag here is 6 pounds of carrots for the carrot soup recipe that I want to do today. And then the other bags there's two other bags. One is 7 pounds and one is about 5 pounds. So those I'm going to use for just canning up carrots. So like sliced carrots, canned carrots. That way we can have those as buttered carrots or whatever we want to do with them as a side dish for dinners. I really like to have cooked carrots on hand. I don't mind them after they've been canned. If you cut them big enough, then they still have pretty good texture to them by the time that they're canned. So they still are delicious in my opinion. I really like to have them, and I like to get good quality organic carrots. If I'm going to go through the trouble of pressure canning them myself, then I want to make sure I get the highest quality carrot that I can. So either homegrown carrots or a nice organic carrot. So today, let's deal with these carrots. The rest of the carrots that were in the 20-pound bag, I will just keep those for fresh eating and for other side dishes over the next couple of months. But today, it's all about the pressure canner and cooking up these carrots and preserving them for later. So before I jump into making the actual carrot soup, I want to tell you what book I'm going to be using, and that's this one here, Complete Guide to Pressure Canning by Diane Devereaux, the Canning Diva. So I have used this pressure canning book for several years now. Since I started pressure canning, this is the book that I've used. I also use the book that came with my actual canner back there. That is a Presto canner, I believe. It comes with its own book, and it has both recipes in there and then canning instructions and everything too. So if you're ever in doubt, when you get your canner, definitely keep the book, because that's going to have the specific times and things for your canner. You always want to reference that so that you know the correct weight, the correct times for certain things for your canner itself. But this is the pressure canning kind of recipe book that I use. And today I'm going to be making her carrot soup recipe out of here. So I won't share the actual full recipe with you, but I will definitely leave a link to the book on Amazon in the description box below, because this is a great book. And I have canned many things out of this over the last couple of years and have been very happy with them all. So as I said, I have 6 pounds of carrots here. And what I did was actually halved that recipe that's in the book. So I just kind of jotted it down, the halved recipe, so that I would have a little bit more clarity on it. But first things first, all I'm going to do to begin with is peel carrots. I'm going to peel these carrots, and I'm also going to peel the 12 pounds of carrots that I have back there. Just in the name of efficiency, I want to go ahead and take care of all the peeling of all the carrots at one time. Then I can wash them all once more after I've peeled them, and then we can start to process them in whatever way we want to process them. So first up, peeling 16 or 18 pounds of carrots. And you see a lot of these are broken and in pieces like this. I got the number 2 carrots. That's basically not the whole most perfect carrots. And these are called either number 2 or juice grade or something like that, because it doesn't really matter that they're broken, but they wouldn't be like the most beautiful carrots to set out or sell as, fresh carrots in the grocery store. People don't want broken carrots there. But for me and my purposes, it literally doesn't matter at all. So some of them are a little bit smaller than others. Some of them are basically full size. And I'm just going to peel them all up either way. And then after I peel them all, we'll go ahead and wash them all off. Just give them a quick rinse once more, and then we'll get them into the soup pot. And you see I'm peeling straight into a bag here, because all of these peels, my birds out there will be very happy to have. The geese love carrots. They love carrot peels. So anytime that I have peels of vegetables most all vegetables. I just take them straight out to the birds. Just standing here and peeling these carrots, I am remembering the last time that I canned carrots was carrots that I grew in the garden. So that was last year, probably in early January or February. I pulled carrots that I grew in the garden, and I grew a ton of carrots. So that was great. However, what I didn't do was thin the carrots when they were seedlings. So while I grew a ton of carrots, they were all very skinny and compacted together, small. Oh my gosh. So there was a huge quantity of them, probably over 100 pounds of carrots, but they were very small. They were like pencil thin, a lot of them. There were some big ones in there, but for the most part, I hadn't thinned the carrots at all, and they were small. So as you can imagine, trying to peel very skinny and small carrots, not ideal. It is so hard and so time consuming, and you peel your knuckle so many times when you do that. So these carrots are much, much easier to peel. They're going to be much easier to process in general because they are good size. So definitely the moral of that story is if you grow carrots yourself, thin them out. And now I know, because you just at that time when you have those little carrot sprouts coming up, you can't bear to part with them, but it's in your best interest if you do so. Pull them up, sacrifice a few for the good of the rest, for the good of your sanity also. Okay, you all, I'm ready to start on this carrot soup now. I've got all the carrots peeled for the things that we're going to be trying to do today. And I need to go ahead and get this soup on to simmer because it takes about an hour or longer to soften the carrots and get everything where we can blend it up and puree it down into a carrot soup. So in this pot here, I am making what is a half batch from the book recipe. So I have the recipe. All I have in here so far is some water. I'm going to add in some broth as well. This is some home canned broth. It's actually turkey broth that I made, but I'm going to add that straight in. Next up, I'll go ahead and just throw the seasonings down into the liquid part here. And I have some thyme that I picked from the garden. You can use ground thyme or fresh thyme is what I'm using today. And need some salt. So I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons of salt. Put in about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of pepper. And then the flavoring or the other vegetables are going to go in next. So what I have here is some carrot, obviously. Yes, what a novel idea in carrot soup. Carrot, garlic, onion, and celery. These are all just very roughly chopped. I should probably turn the burner back on at this point. I had everything going, and then the dog started barking for 10 minutes, so I had to take a quick break. Yeah. So I had to turn everything off. Now I'm going to restart. So in goes the celery. I have my pot on this burner back here because I know I'm going to be using this burner up front for canning the carrots, just the cut up carrots. So just get all of these veggies in here. This is the onion, the garlic, everything, as I said, is just roughly chopped. And then we're going to put the carrots in last. Some of these are fine to go in the way that they are. They're basically cut in half. That's all the recipe says to do, is just have the carrots. Other ones I'm just going to break a little bit smaller. Some I still need to cut the ends off of because they had bigger stems on them. So I'll just break down what I can. And then the others I will grab a knife and cut the end off of. Everything is going in. You can put the heat up on pretty high temperature. I really like that this recipe doesn't make you chop everything super fine or anything. That's delightful. Some of these are a little bit too thick to break in half. And then, as I said, some I still need to cut the ends off of. So these other ones that are a little bit thicker, harder to break, I'll just chop them. After we throw all this stuff in the pot, basically the lid goes on for an hour and it just needs to simmer until everything is nice and soft. So if you wanted to, you could certainly cut all this up smaller, but today I know I have time in the kitchen, so I'm just going to leave it a little bit bigger. I have plenty of other things to cut here in just a minute once we get to the other carrots. Okay, lid's going to go on, and we're going to let this come up to a boil. Then we'll start to stir it around a little bit until everything gets nice and soft. Okay, so I have about 9-10 jars already done, and that was about half of the carrots that I had washed and peeled so far. So I'm going to fill the remaining jars that I have here, and I think that's probably going to be all that I can use at this point. So all I'm doing is just cutting them and just dropping them straight into the jars. Once I have all the jars filled, I'll go back and add about half a teaspoon of salt to each jar, and then I will top them up with water to 1-inch headspace. I'm just packing in literally as much carrots as I can. You can either hot pack these or cold pack these. So I'm not too worried about canning up carrots using the hold pack. The hot pack method, because these are not going to compress down or lose their shape or anything like that, because they're carrots. They're really, really hard. So they're going to cook and they're going to be really nice after they're cooked, but they're not going to compress down like a lot of things will. It's at this point in the video that I'm definitely going to be switching to voiceover, because you would not believe the amount of barking that I had to deal with on this day in particular. Well, really this week in particular, because this was the first day that I was filming this, and on this day we had some people come to remove the fence in our driveway area that divides our driveway and our neighbor's property. So they were removing the fence on this day. This was the first day they were there. So the dogs were, of course, very interested in that and very barky. When you have 4 dogs and you're at home, there's going to be some barking. So at this point, I just said, you know, enough with that, and we'll just do some voiceover for this. So all I'm doing at this point in the video is putting on some lids and rings. I use my kettle to boil up some water to fill up the jars of the cut up carrots to go in the pressure canner, and then I just put the lids and rings on and get those ready to go into the pressure canner. I already have at this point 1 batch that's in there going and coming up to temperature, and so the carrot soup there is coming along really nicely as well. I took out the little stems from the thyme, the fresh thyme that I had in there, and then I just used my immersion blender to start to blend it up. Everything in there is really, really soft and cooked through. So it's time to just blend it up and get it into a nice soup texture. And then of course you want to taste it along the way too, to make sure that it doesn't need any additional seasoning. So it definitely needed more salt as I was going through and cooking it. I found that I needed to add salt a couple of times actually. So I ended up probably adding more like a tablespoon of salt to this, because it's just a lot of carrots, you know. They need a lot of good seasoning so that the flavors are really bright and nice in there. So at that point I had the seasonings adjusted and everything, and it's time to get these into jars as well. And I pulled out a bunch of quart-sized jars. I'm really not sure how much I thought I was canning, but I was very inaccurate on the amount that I was canning. So I ended up needing about 2 full quarts, and then I swapped out the rest of those quart jars for just 2 more jars that I had, which are about 12-ounce size. You'll see those in just a minute here. But I'm just funneling in all of the carrot soup and leaving about 1-inch headspace in those as well. So those wide mouth jars that I got out there are, like I said, those are about 12-ounce jars. They're kind of a different size. I ordered those off of Amazon Amazon at one point, and that was the size that I was selling my sourdough starter kits in at the market, but I have a few of them left here and there hanging around the house. So I like them as well. They do take a regular size wide mouth jar lid, so they're pretty handy as well, and they're a nice size, sort of in between a pint jar and a quart size jar. So just know when you go to pressure can up something like this, how I have the two different sizes of soups there. One is a quart and then the other is a smaller 12-ounce jar. You need to just pressure can them for the longer period of time of the two sizes that you have there. So the quarts, I believe they pressure canned for about 65 minutes. So of course the 12-ounce size jars pressure canned for 65 minutes as well. So that goes for anything that you're mixing sizes on. Always take the longer canning time. That way the bigger size jar will definitely get done. And then by default, your smaller size jars will be done as well. So just adding the lids and rings after I wipe the rims of the jars to make sure that I get a really, really good seal the first time on all of these things. And as I said, I had some carrots already canning in the pressure canner there. They had been venting for 10 minutes, so it was time to put the weight on and set the timer for those. I think they took about 25 minutes of canning for the sliced carrots, so not too bad at all. And really for the rest of the day here, I just cycled through my batch after batch of pressure canning items, and everything came out perfectly. Every jar sealed, so it was a really good day. I absolutely appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you back here on my channel real soon.